Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome to a different sort of video. So this video is my 2000th upload, I think, on YouTube, so I decided to do something special for you guys. So as you guys know, my 2010 build came out recently, so we are going to be doing a playoff resimulation with my rosters just to see if we could get a different or similar result. So we have all our playoff matchups set up to what they were in 2010. Let's run through these matchups actually a little bit. So first and foremost, we got San Jose and Colorado for the West. We also have Chicago, Nashville, Vancouver, LA, Phoenix, and Detroit. What's interesting is Phoenix actually had home ice advantage in the series. I didn't even realize that Phoenix had that great of a year that year, but they had home ice advantage, but they did lose to Detroit. Then we went over to the Eastern Conference. We have Washington, Montreal, New Jersey, Philadelphia, Buffalo and Boston, and in Pittsburgh and Ottawa. So it should be interesting to see if we end up having an exact 2010 finals rematch, or maybe we get something that's kind of similar or years down the road. So maybe we end up seeing Boston playing Chicago, or we see a team like Pittsburgh face off against San Jose. Something like that would be interesting. So let's go to settings first and make sure I have injuries and stuff turned off, because I do not want injuries during this little thing. We are also going to turn off retired jerseys, because obviously a lot of these players are retired at this point in time. And let's turn off these injuries as well, like I said, because obviously we're just doing this for the fun. We're not doing this for any realistic purposes, but I kind of hope we get an actual Stanley Cup Finals from 2010. That would be kind of neat, but at the same time, this game could literally throw anybody into the finals. Like, they could randomly give the Coyotes a chance to win the Stanley Cup. So let's hop on into this and see what we get in terms of realistic results. Now, if you're wondering about these matchups, technically in real life, I should run through these a little bit again here. Let me actually remove my face so you guys can actually see all this stuff again. So for these actual playoff matchups in 2010, obviously the San Jose Sharks went on to beat the Colorado Avalanche, who were the 8th seed that year, in 6 games. So I expect San Jose probably to win this one out of that first round matchup. Chicago, Nashville, obviously Chicago won the Cup this year. They took out Nashville in 6 games. That was the 2 versus the 7th seed. You also have Vancouver versus LA, which in this one, Vancouver took out LA in 6 games, so a lot of 6-game series in the Western Conference. And the only Game 7 of the West that year was Phoenix and Detroit, which Detroit ended up winning, because obviously Detroit was still a very stacked team at this point in time. Then in the Eastern Conference, you have Washington and Montreal. Montreal actually won the series in 7 games despite being the 8th seed, so Montreal could surprise us in the simulation. I'm not too sure if they will or not. Maybe it comes down to goaltending and all that, but Montreal does have a pretty good roster for this 2010 build. You also have New Jersey and Philadelphia. Philadelphia was a 7th seed, but they were able to take out the Devils, who were the 2nd seed in only 5 games. So Philadelphia could be a big surprise here, just like they were in real life. Then you have Buffalo and Boston. Boston took out the 3rd seed in Buffalo in 6 games. This was also, I think, one of the last years you saw the Buffalo Sabres make the Cup playoffs, which is kind of insane, considering they still haven't made the playoffs and they suck right now in real life. And then you have Pittsburgh and Ottawa. Pittsburgh was the 4 seed. Ottawa was the 5 seed. Pittsburgh won that series in 6 games. So I expect a lot of the similar teams that won in real life to win in the simulation, but we could see some surprises here thrown in there. Like, maybe randomly you'll see, like, I don't know, Buffalo go further than they should have. I'm not too sure, just because obviously Buffalo having that home ice advantage, and they were actually better than the Boston Bruins during that season, which is still kind of surprising to me, but they didn't have a good playoff run as they typically do. So if that said, let's just quick sim through these games. We'll obviously do some slow simulation though when we get to the Cup Finals and all that, but let's see what we get here in terms of results. As San Jose takes Game 1 against the Avs, the Kings take Game 1 against the Canucks. We have the Caps taking Game 1 against the Canadiens. What else we got? Boston takes Game 1 over the Sabres. Geez, I almost said over the Bruins. What else we got here in terms of results? Chicago and Nashville. Chicago takes Game 1. Phoenix and Detroit. Detroit takes Game 1. New Jersey and Philly. Philly takes Game 1. And Ottawa and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh takes Game 1. Interesting. I wonder who's going to be the favorite in this. I feel like Washington could simulate really well in this, because I have seen them simulate really well in franchise mode with these rosters. So I wouldn't be surprised to see guys like Ovechkin, Semin, and Backstrom carry them to a cup in this. But it'll be interesting to see what we get in terms of results. So let's go through this a little bit quicker here, because I want to see what the second round ends up being like and how close it is to real life. But obviously we're going to mention when any series ends, but that still won't be for a little bit here, because we're only going through Game 2 in all these series right now. All right, looks like a lot of 2-0 series leads at this point. So I wonder if any of those teams are going to keep on that trend. Maybe we'll see a lot of sweeps. Maybe we'll see a lot of sweeps. All right, game 3s are almost getting done. A lot of 2-1 series now. Only one 3-0 series lead right now, which is San Jose on Colorado. There's a 3-0 lead for Detroit on Philadelphia, on Phoenix. So Phoenix might be getting eliminated a lot earlier than anticipated because, like I said, that series actually went to game 7. But Detroit, obviously a very good team. Would make sense for them to win a little bit easier in this game at least. Let's see what else we got here. Can San Jose sweep Colorado? No, they cannot. Colorado survives. All right. So nobody's getting swept potentially unless the Yotes get swept, which we will find out shortly if Phoenix is the first casualty or not. Every other series is pretty much tied, which is kind of insane. All right. Will Detroit sweep the Coyotes? Let's see. Yes, they will. So Detroit's the first team to move on in this simulation. In real life, like I said, that went to 7 games. This time around, it's a sweep, but still Detroit was the much better roster. So Detroit moves on to round 2. Philadelphia up 2-1 right now. In New Jersey, they're now up 3-1. I really hope we get a similar result to the actual 2010 Cup Finals because that would just make me feel like, hey, my roster's actually that great. I actually really like this roster, though, too. I think it might be one of my favorites, to be honest. All right, we have a lot of teams pushed to the brink now. So the question is, can some of these series end? So can Colorado be eliminated now? No, they will not. So Colorado wins 2 straight games against the Sharks to stay alive for another day. The next one, can the Canucks get eliminated by the LA Kings? Can LA surprise people? No, they cannot yet. The Canucks force a game 6. Montreal and Washington. Washington's up 3-1 on the Canadiens. Obviously, in real life, like I said, the Canadiens were very low seeded, but they still beat the Caps. They have to come out of a 3-1 hole in the simulation. So will they be able to do that? No, they will not. The Caps have moved on. So the first non-team to get to the second round do get to the second round. So Ovechkin has maybe a chance at a cup in this sim. We'll see what happens with that. Buffalo and Boston are tied at 2. They're the only series that's tied at 2 right now. So who's going to take the series lead? It will be the Bruins, who have pushed the Sabres to the brink. Realistic. Chicago, Nashville. Chicago has Nashville by the balls. Will they find a way to win this? No, they will not. Nashville forces a game 6. Back in, I guess, in Nashville at this point. New Jersey and Philadelphia. Philly has a chance to eliminate the Devils like they did in real life. Will they do it here? No, they will not. Another game 6, okay. Pittsburgh and Ottawa. Pittsburgh's up 3-1 on the Sens. Can Pittsburgh move on? No, they cannot. Damn, a lot of teams not moving on. We're going to game 6 in a lot of these series. Damn, it's a lot tighter than I anticipated it to be. Colorado was down 3-0. Can they find a way to a game 7? No, they cannot. San Jose has moved on. They're the second team to move on to round 2. In real life, what was the case with them again? Oh, yeah, they won in 6 games, so that's an exactly realistic result. Nice. I like it. Vancouver and LA. Can the LA Kings take out the Vancouver Canucks? No, they cannot. They're going to game 7. Buffalo and Boston. Can Boston take out the Sabres? No, they cannot. They're going to game 7 as well. Chicago and Nashville. Can Chicago take out the Preds in 6 like they did in real life, I think it said? Yes, they can. Let's go. All right. I like these realistic results. I like them. Obviously, I hope for a little bit of change up, but at the same time, if my build simulates 100% accurate almost, it's very satisfying, I should say. Philadelphia and New Jersey. Can Philadelphia take out Martin Brodeurs' team? Yes, they can. Philly moves on in 6 games. In real life, I think it was 5 games. Yeah, it was 5 games, I said, so not too bad. Ottawa and Pittsburgh. Can Ottawa force a game 7? Yes, they can. Okay, so a couple series still have to end. It's only 3 series that are going to game 7. Vancouver, LA, the first of the 3. Can the Canucks find a way? Yes, they can. The LA Kings have been eliminated despite having a lead in the series at one point, as Vancouver takes them out 7 instead of 6. All right. Buffalo and Boston. Can Buffalo pull off a huge upset here and knock out the Bruins? No, they cannot. The Bruins have moved on in 7 games. In real life, it went to 6 games, but still pretty close. And Ottawa and Pittsburgh. Can Ottawa maybe pull off an upset and knock out Sid the Kid? Let's see. No, they cannot. Pittsburgh moves on in 7 games, which means we have a rematch of the second round almost identically, I think. I don't know, actually, it's a little bit different. Maybe I should have set up the playoffs a little bit different because technically Chicago and Vancouver played each other in the second round. San Jose and Detroit played each other in the second round. So if I actually configured this correctly, we'd have the exact matchups. But we do have the Final Four in the West that are exactly accurate, which is kind of cool. In terms of the East, it's Philadelphia and Washington. In real life, it was Philadelphia, Montreal. And then it's Pittsburgh and Boston in real life. I'm actually not Philadelphia, Montreal. That was the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, Philadelphia and Boston actually played each other. Okay. And Montreal and Pittsburgh. So it's almost identical, except for the Caps were the only team to surprise us so far. So far, every team has won that should have won, except for the Caps. But in real life, the Caps probably should have won that series, but they just didn't. All right, well, let's see who ends up moving on to the conference finals. See if we can get similar results here still. Let's see. So far, both Pennsylvania teams up 1-0. Chicago and Vancouver up 1-0 as well. San Jose ties the series. Vancouver takes a 2-0 lead on Detroit. Maybe Vancouver's going to get a chance to go to the Cup Finals a year earlier. That'd be interesting. Philly and Washington are now tied, and Pittsburgh's up 2-0 on the Bruins. Okay. Wow, how does Sergei Gonchar have 16 points in 9 games? I'm not going to complain, but it is crazy. Chicago up 2-1 on the Sharks. Let's see about Vancouver has taken Detroit to the brink. If Detroit's going to come back from this, I think they definitely can. But Vancouver, though, is looking really good right now in the sim, as they have taken Detroit to a sweep potentially after Detroit swept the Coyotes in the first round. All right. Let's see about the East here. 2-1 Philadelphia. Pittsburgh is going to be up 2-1 on Boston. So the only 3-0 series lead so far is Vancouver. All right. Let's see what else we got here. Chicago up 3-1 on the Sharks. Vancouver, will they advance to the conference finals? Yes, they will. Detroit got swept. Damn. That's kind of a surprise. In real life, Vancouver got knocked out by Chicago in 6 games in the second round. So maybe if they had to face Detroit instead, they would have had an easier time. But Vancouver will find a way to get to a conference finals a year early. Washington and Philly. Philly's up 3-1. We might get a Philly-Chicago Cup Finals potentially at this rate. Or it might end up being Pittsburgh-Chicago. Boston has made it a tie series with Pittsburgh. Okay. So Pittsburgh having a little bit of a tough time. They're the only series that's actually tied right now. Can Chicago move on to the conference finals to face the Canucks? Yes, they can. It will be Chicago and Vancouver in the Western Conference Finals. That's an interesting one because I think Chicago and Vancouver played each other in, what's it, round 1 or 2 in 2011. I can't remember, but I know that they definitely faced off against each other when the Canucks went to the Cup Finals that year. But anyways, this is 2010. Let's see if Philadelphia could knock out the Caps and get rid of Ovechkin. Yes, they can. Ovechkin and the Caps have been eliminated, which means there is a realistic chance we might have Philly and Chicago. It's like a 50% chance. That's kind of cool. Boston and Pittsburgh, the only teams that are tied right now at 2, so they will play back-to-back games. Boston takes a 3-2 lead on the Penguins. Can Pittsburgh force a Game 7? Yes, they can. Game 7 for Pittsburgh and Boston. Pretty realistic, because Boston obviously went to the Cup Finals the year after. It's won the Stanley Cup. Pittsburgh, on the other hand, just won the Cup in 2009. Very good team. So I do expect this to be kind of realistic here. Who will end up winning Game 7? It will be the Pittsburgh Penguins. So we have a battle of Pennsylvania in the Eastern Conference Finals and Vancouver and Chicago in the Western Conference Finals. That's interesting. In real life, it was Montreal, Philadelphia, though, and San Jose, Chicago. So we got at least 2 of the final 4 teams correct. Now can we get the actual final, or are we going to have a different result? Like, is it going to be Vancouver-Pittsburgh? Is it going to be Chicago-Pittsburgh? Is it going to be Chicago-Philadelphia? Vancouver-Philadelphia? Let's find out. First game of the Western Conference Finals goes to the Blackhawks. First game of the Eastern Conference Finals goes to the Penguins. I definitely feel like it could be a rematch of the earlier 90s, Chicago and Pittsburgh. This was a Stanley Cup Finals that I thought was going to happen back in like the 2010s, but it never happened. It would have been kind of a boring Stanley Cup Finals, in my opinion, if it would have happened, because those are 2 dynasties, and I don't really like dynasties. I know I'm a little bit weird on that, saying that, but I don't really like seeing teams win multiple Stanley Cups one after another, unless they're my own team. So yeah, this era is kind of a boring era when you get to like 2010 2012, 2013. I was kind of not into hockey as much as I probably should have been at that point. But anyways, let's find out. Game 2, Chicago takes a 2-0 series lead on the Canucks. Can Philadelphia respond to Pittsburgh? No, they cannot. We honestly might be getting Chicago-Pittsburgh. Game 3 for Chicago is going to be a win for them as well. So Chicago now has Vancouver in the potential crosshairs to get swept. So a lot of sweeps going on in the West, it seems like right now. Philadelphia needs to probably find a way to win this next game or else they might lose to Pittsburgh. Let's see what happens. And Pittsburgh has them by the brink, so we might not get a realistic Cup Finals, but at least we might get it Chicago Blackhawks facing off against the Pennsylvania team. So let's see what happens here. Can Chicago advance to the Cup Finals in 2010? No, they cannot. Vancouver stays alive, surviving the sweep. Can Pittsburgh pull off a sweep and knock out the Flyers? No, they cannot. Okay, maybe we have a reverse sweep on our hands with one of these teams. I'm not too sure. But game number 5, can Vancouver survive another day? No, they cannot. Chicago's moving on to the Stanley Cup Finals in 2010, so at least we have one of the 2 teams in the Cup Finals right. Now, will Philadelphia be able to pull off a reverse sweep and get to a Cup Finals? It's going to be interesting to see what happens here. Let's see. Okay. They might be going to a game 6. They are going to a game 6. They might be going to a game 7 potentially too if they could find a way back into this. Obviously, this Philadelphia team is very pesky in that sense because in real life they took out Boston after they were down 3-0 in the second round. So if Philadelphia pulls off a reverse sweep in this sim engine, that's going to be a pretty damn sick. So let's see. Can they force a game 7? No, they cannot. That's unfortunate. But it will be a Chicago-Pittsburgh Stanley Cup Finals in 2010 in this resim. Right now, leading in points is Crosby with the 31 points through 20 playoff games. All right, I don't know who's the favorite in this, but we are going to do some slow simulation for this Cup Finals. So let's get to Game 1 and see who ends up taking it. Pittsburgh has home ice advantage in this in real life. I don't know if they would have. I don't think they would have. Let's double check on that. Second seed. No, they definitely wouldn't have had home ice, but that's okay. First period of this Cup Finals in 2010. Chicago's up 2-1. Andrew Ladd with 2 goals. Shout out to my Maple Ridge boy, Andrew Ladd. Crosby gets a goal for Pittsburgh. All right, second period. Still 2-1 Blackhawks. And third period, a 4-3 final. Guerin tied the game up early into that third. Versteeg then gives the Blackhawks back the lead. Guerin ties it up again. And a late goal with 1:28 left. Chris Versteeg scores his second of the night, and the Chicago Blackhawks have taken Game 1 of the 2010 Cup Finals. Versteeg, Guerin, and Ladd, the 3 stars. Kind of crazy that only those guys were scoring goals in that one, but it is what it is. All right, so there is Game 1 of the 2010 Cup Finals. Let's see what happens in Game 2. See if Chicago continues to build off that. Chicago might end up winning like the actual realistic Cup Finals. Let's see what happens. Ooh, 2-0 Pittsburgh after 1. Matt Cook, screw that guy. Tyler Kennedy scores. Shots are 14-6 Pittsburgh. Damn. Second period. 2-1. Okay, the Blackhawks back on the board. Dustin Byfuglien as a forward, of course, because he was a forward at this point, gets the Blackhawks on the board. Who will be able to win this one in the third period? Are the Penguins going to be able to hold off the Hawks? Let's see what happens. Third period. 3-3. We're going to overtime in Game 2 of the Cup Finals. Marian Hossa, Patrick Kane, Chris Kunitz ties it up late. I guess we got to do a real-time simulation for a change here. Let's see what happens in overtime. Can Pittsburgh tie the series at 1 apiece? Or is Chicago going to find a way to take a 2-0 series lead headed back home? And the Pittsburgh Penguins are going to end up tying the series up. Max Talbot with a short-handed overtime winner in the playoffs. That's a pretty big goal. That's a pretty big goal for the series as the Penguins have tied it up now. Hossa got first start. Matt Cook the second start. Max Talbot the third star. All right. Well, now is going to be interesting. We have ourselves a series potentially. The series shifts over to Chicago. Can Chicago find a way to win some games on home ice? Or is Pittsburgh going to crawl back after that shorthanded goal? First period. All right, 1-0 Penguins. Bill Guerin. So Bill Guerin's been like the Penguins' best goal scorer in this Cup Finals at this point, which is kind of weird. Shots are 15-7 in favor of the Penguins, so the Blackhawks really didn't come to play here so far. Can the Blackhawks respond? Second period. 1-1. Okay, they do tie the game up. It's Marian Hossa with a power play goal. Shots are 24-19. Let's do a real-time simulation maybe for this third period just for fun. Penguins get the lead. Sergei Gonchar. Probably a bomb from the point, looks like. Because Gonchar, that's how he usually scored, I feel like. Are the Blackhawks going to be able to find a way to tie this one up, or is the Penguins going to take a game on the road after they won in overtime last game? The answer is yes, they are. The Pittsburgh Penguins have taken a game in Chicago and have now taken their first lead of the series. 3 stars in that one: Niemi, Fleury, and Hossa. Interesting. So we might get a different cup winner this year, potentially. But the Chicago Blackhawks are still in this. But they don't have Crosby or Malkin. They do have Kane and Taves, so they could definitely win still. Let's get to this next one. This is going to be interesting to see if we actually get the right result. First period goes to the Penguins. They outshot them 20-4 in that first period. Jeez, the Blackhawks could barely play, and I know my face is above this. I can't move it because I don't have a scene set up for this, but 20-4 in that first period. Absolute domination from the Penguins in that one. They're only up by a goal, though, so Niemi's doing his stuff to keep his team in it. Chris Letang with that power play goal. Let's see what happens in the second period. 1-1. Blackhawks get on the board. Chris Versteeg. Shots are 36-15 in favor of Pittsburgh now. So Penguins are still throwing a lot of rubber on net, but it's been a very good game for Antti Niemi here. Let's do a real-time simulation in the third period. Can Niemi hold the Penguins off, and can the Blackhawks find a way to get a lead despite being outplayed in this one? Pittsburgh doesn't score on a power play there. Final 10 minutes of this third period. This is a crazy, crazy series. Good goaltending from Niemi, and he's almost made like close to 50 saves at this point, which is insane. And we're going to be going to overtime for this next game. Shots are 45-25. If the Blackhawks don't win this, Niemi is going to put up a really good performance just to lose, which would really suck for Hawks fans. But let's see what ends up happening in overtime. Who wants to be the hero on the overtime side of things? Last time we saw overtime as a shorthanded goal. Penalty kill in overtime for the Blackhawks, but the Penguins win on their 51st shot. It's Evgeny Malkin who pushes the actual 2010 Cup champions to the brink, and the Pittsburgh Penguins are one win away from the 2010 Stanley Cup and repeating, I guess, as champions. Wow. That's unfortunate for Niemi, because that guy literally played a crazy good game at .961 save percentage, 49 of 51 shots, but his team could not give him more than a goal. No support there. He gets first star of the game at loss. Fleury to second star. Malkin the third. All right. Well, it's not going to be necessarily the most realistic results with this Cup Finals, but still kind of fun. I mean, Pittsburgh could have repeated, I guess, as champions this year, but they didn't. So let's see what ends up happening. Can Pittsburgh win the 2010 Stanley Cup on home ice, or is the Blackhawks going to push back at all? First period. Scoreless. All right. Blackhawks definitely not scoring enough. Definitely not scoring enough. They're out shooting them Pittsburgh 14-4 after the first period, so a good first period for chances for them. But, yeah, they have not scored that much at all in the series. Second period. Still scoreless. Shots are 22-14. So the Blackhawks literally only have one goal in the last, 6 periods of hockey almost. Pretty insane. Let's do a real-time simulation this third period just in case Pittsburgh has a chance to win the Cup. But Chicago needs to find that offense that they were getting, and so far they have not been able to do that to Pittsburgh. They get a goal, though, from Andrew Ladd, who's been their best player. Gonchar answers back with a power play goal for the Penguins. Interesting, and Crosby gives them the lead. Oh, boy. That might be it. That might be it. We might have to jump in here shortly. Let's jump on in. There's only a few minutes left. I'm going to remove my face from this so you guys can actually see this a little bit better. But the Pittsburgh Penguins, they're only a few minutes away from potentially winning the 2010 Cup. Maybe we're going to cheese them by jumping in here. I'm not too sure. But let's go to their 2015-16 home. And we could probably go to the 2016-17 away. There we go. That works. All right. Let's watch some 2010 action and see if Pittsburgh's going to hold off the Blackhawks and win that Stanley Cup in 2010. And I don't like seeing the Penguins win Stanley Cups, to be honest, because obviously being a Sens fan. But At least we're getting somewhat pretty good results. I mean, I think this could have been a realistic Cup Finals matchup at 2010 maybe. Maybe it could have been in like 2012, something like that. But we didn't get it. So, definitely could have saw it also near the end of the Blackhawks dynasty when Pittsburgh started winning a lot too. Like, you could have seen this Cup Finals in probably like 2016, 2017. But it didn't happen. So, kind of realistic results. Here is Patrick Kane trying to find a way to tie this up for the Blackhawks. Kane walks in, shoots. He does not get to the net. Gonchar finds Kunitz. I don't like seeing Chris Kunitz in a playoff scenario. Crosby throws it to Dupuis. Dupuis poke checked by Duncan Keith. Here's Christopher Stieg, who's been good for the Blackhawks. He turns it over. Gonchar. We're into the final minute. Here's Ponikarovsky. Can't get the shot. Duncan Keith with it now. Banks it up ahead. Here is Patrick Sharp. Can't get by. Mark Eaton with it now. Mark Eaton can't get by. The Blackhawks need to find a way to pull their goaltender if they want to have a chance to tie this up here. Patrick Sharp. And now they pull the goalie. Here is Sharp. He's got room. Walks in, shoots, and he scores. All right. Patrick Sharp with the net empty. We might actually have to go to an overtime first, which I'm okay with. I mean, it does make this video a little bit longer, but it does give us maybe an interesting result. Maybe there's a chance the Blackhawks could force a Game 6. And that's just a nice shot. Mark Eaton has to take away the passing lane. And then Fleury can't make the glove save. Nice shot there from Sharp. Ties this game up at 2. Maybe I jinxed the Penguins by jumping in. I'm not too sure. But I do want to see these type of games in action sometimes. It's fun watching games in my 2010 build a lot for some reason. Like, I've watched games occasionally just to kind of see what would happen. If it's kind of realistic or not. And it's kind of fun seeing all my creative players out there because obviously I made like a shit ton of players for this roster build, like 1,700 players. So to see them actually skate out there and almost look like the real player, it's kind of neat. All right, 2-2 game with 34.9 seconds left. The Blackhawks are out shooting the Penguins, but once again, they haven't been scoring a ton. So let's see what happens here in this final 30 seconds of regulation. Evgeny Malkin with the puck for the Penguins. He finds Bill Guerin. Bill Guerin with some space, shoots Niemi to save. Bill Guerin's been really good for the Penguins in the series too, so the Blackhawks definitely don't want that guy going down the wing. Looks like Byfuglien got nailed, which is kind of surprising. I don't know how somebody could take out somebody like Byfuglien's size, but Bill Guerin did that. All right. Goligoski moving up there in points for the Penguins. Face off in the offensive zone for the Penguins. It's Stahl versus John Madden. Number 11 versus number 11. Madden wins it. Chalmerson throws it over. Dangerous pass. Campbell up to Byfuglien. Dustin Byfuglien with it. Byfuglien throws it over. Turned over. It's now with Chris Letang. Letang from Stahl. Jordan Stahl carrying it in. Stahl walking towards the net. Can't get by. We might honestly be going to overtime, which means this video could be very long, potentially. We'll see. Campbell finds Byfuglien. He shoots. That's turned away by Fleury. With 0.1 seconds left as the Blackhawks tried for a buzzer beater. But we will be going to overtime in Game 5 as the Penguins are a goal away from winning the Stanley Cup, but also a goal away from going back to a Game 6 in Chicago. All right. Well, I don't know who's going to be the OT hero in this one because obviously I don't know what way this game is trending, if it's in the Blackhawks' hands or the Penguins' hands, but we haven't seen much offensive chances from the Penguins since jumping in, but obviously, if they get like pressure against like Crosby and Malkin and stuff like that, that's going to be really tough for the Blackhawks, I think. So we'll see what ends up happening. Crosby versus Toews at the draw. Who will win it? It will be Jonathan Toews with his quick draw. Here is Patrick Kane. Kane walks in, finds Hossa. Hossa can't get by. Here is Chris Kunitz. Imagine if Marian Hossa lost actually in 2010 in the Cup Finals to the Pittsburgh Penguins, because in real life, if you guys don't know, Marian Hossa lost 2 straight Stanley Cup Finals. 2008, he was with Detroit, lost to Pittsburgh. He was with Pittsburgh and lost to Detroit. And then in 2009, he was with Detroit, lost to Pittsburgh. Imagine if he was with Chicago and lost to Pittsburgh in 2010. That'd be insane, man. That'd be absolutely insane. 3 straight Stanley Cup Finals while losing. And against former teams, too. Dupuis finds Kunitz, and that's blocked. Jeez, Kunitz in overtime is scary, man. Kunitz again, he hits the post. Crosby finds it, that's turned away by Niemi. Almost full pressure coming from the Penguins. That's what I mean, you can't allow that line to get chances. I mean, it is Crosby with Kunitz and not Letang and Dupuis. But Crosby's obviously very dangerous, and he could give those guys chances. Malkin at the face-off against Dave Bolland. He wins it. Orpik finds Gonchar over to Ponikarovsky. He shoots, turned away by Niemi. We know Niemi can make a lot of saves, so maybe he could give the Blackhawks a chance in this one. Sharp with some good hustle, beating out Eaton to that puck. Here is Bolland. He finds it to Versteeg. He shoots, turned away. Bolland can't find the rebound. Letang finds it. Over to Guerin. Guerin to Ponikarovsky. Alexei Ponikarovsky, the former Leaf, walks in to Letang. Its shot is blocked. Sharp now with it. Finds it to Versteeg. I feel like a goal's coming soon based on the tempo of this game right now. Ponikarovsky finds it to Letang again. He finds Guerin. Guerin spins around. Finds it up to Evgeny Malkin. Malkin one-on-one with Seabrook, but can't get by him. Seabrook up to Sharp. Sharp finds Bolland. He finds Versteeg. Chris Versteeg walks in. Finds Sharp, and he can't get much of a shot away as he ran right into Fleury pretty much. See, these type of games are really fun to watch. I really like the nostalgia factor of making these 2010 builds and roster builds in general. Alright, Stahl versus Madden at the draw. Let's see what happens. The 11s face off again. Madden wins it. Hjalmarsson throws it over to Campbell. He shoots. That one goes over to net, but a penalty is taken by, of course, Matt Cook as he tripped Brian Campbell when he went for that shot. The Blackhawks have a chance to win this game on a power play goal potentially. Now, they did give up a shorthanded overtime winner in game 2, it was, right, to Max Talbot. So you got to be careful if you're the Blackhawks here, because the Penguins do have some good defensive players that could make you pay. All right, Stahl versus Taze on the face-off dot. Let's see who ends up winning this face-off. Good face-off matchup here, and Stahl wins it. Letang throws it to Goligoski. He throws it to Stahl. Jordan Stahl will skate up with it and dump it. Duncan Keith will race to it. He's got it now. Over to Campbell. Campbell to Kane. Kane finds Taze. Jonathan Taze with the puck makes the move. Taze still walking in. Still shoots and scores. Jonathan Taze keeps this series going. We're going to be going to a Game 6 back in Chicago as he gets the overtime winner on the power play goal. Well, maybe we jinxed the Penguins by jumping in, but still cool to see some action in Pittsburgh. Is that the goal that gives the Blackhawks a chance to get back into the series, or is the Penguins going to find a way to win in Chicago? But that's just a simple shot that Fleury should have probably, but Marc-Andre Fleury during this time period had some really rough goals go against him, so it does kind of make sense that that goal would go in. But Taze just throws it on net on an odd man rush on the power play, and that just goes right through Fleury. All right. I actually should get a screenshot of something for this game, just in case. Just in case we end up ever seeing, or in case I want to make a good thumbnail. Let's see. Just in case Chicago ends up winning the Stanley Cup here. Let's just go with something like that. Just so I can maybe have a thumbnail instead be in-game. All right. Well, now I guess we have to go to another game. So, actually, who was the 3 stars in that one? Seabrook with an assist and 6 hits. He assisted on the game-winning goal, I guess. Or no, the game-tying goal. What else we got here? Penguins. Crosby gets 2nd star with a goal. We didn't get to see that goal. And he had some good chances in that overtime. Surprised that they didn't end up winning that shift. And Jonathan Taze the 1st star with the game winner. All right, we head to another game. Are the Blackhawks going to find a way? Man, that was glitched out. That camera angle was literally right through a fan. All right, can Chicago force a Game 7 back in Pittsburgh? Let's see what ends up happening here. Let's see if the Blackhawks have some momentum now. First period of this game. Blackhawks up 1-0. Patrick Kane beats Marc-Andre Fleury. Kane has a flair for the dramatics, of course. Shots are 12-10 in favor of the Blackhawks. They are finding their goal scoring all of a sudden. Not good for Pittsburgh. Second period. 4-0 Blackhawks. Okay, they definitely found their offense. Well, that is not good if you're a Penguins fan. The Blackhawks have found their goal scoring. Hossa with 2 goals, Taze with 1. All of a sudden, this might be going to a Game 7. It looks like it. Third period. It's 4-0 final. Well, final shots 35-34 as the Penguins get shut out. We are going to a Game 7 for the Stanley Cup in 2010. As the big guys are stepping up for the Blackhawks at the right time. Niemi gets 1st star with a shutout. Hossa 2nd star. Taze 3rd star. So Niemi's actually been pretty damn good in this Cup Finals and probably the entire playoffs, I would assume, which is interesting because in real life, obviously, he was really good too. So let's get to Game 7. Let's get to Game 7. We could do a real-time simulation for this one. You know what? Let's do a real-time simulation for this one just because it is Game 7. So now comes the question, who's going to win the 2010 Cup Final? Malkin scores early on the power play. Crosby scores. So the Penguins' top guys score 3 power play goals in the span of 3 minutes. God damn. Let me just move my face from this so you guys can see a little bit more in depth. What a first period. A 4th power play goal as the Blackhawks power play is doing, our penalty kill is doing terrible. Kennedy makes it 5-0 in this first period. While the Blackhawks had a chance, they came back and forced the Game 7 just to get absolutely obliterated in the first period of Game 7. God damn. There's still a lot of time left for the Blackhawks to get back into this, but literally the Blackhawks have less shots than the Penguins have goals in that first period. Absolutely insane. Well, let's see if the Blackhawks could start a comeback, or is the Penguins going to find a way to just win this? Bufflin gets the Blackhawks on the board to make it 5-1. I definitely still think there's more goals in this game to come too. But that's a crazy first period, especially all those power play goals. Like that penalty kill, absolutely atrocious for a Game 7. Well, it looks like the Blackhawks aren't going to get much offense in that second period as Huey's also in net now for Pittsburgh. And I was saying how good Niemi was. Well, Niemi just had his worst game at the worst possible time. 6-1, Ponikarovsky scored. So shots are 28-15. It looks like the Penguins are going to win the 2010 Cup Finals, because Antti Niemi turned into his future self a bit too early. Because Antti Niemi down the road would have been this bad, but Antti Niemi in 2010, not so much. Malkin makes it 7-1. UA is not even doing much better. We're going to have to jump in here in these next few minutes. Sharp makes it 7-2 with 5 minutes to go. Let's jump on in and watch these last 5 minutes. Might as well. Might as well. We definitely got to get an actual good screenshot of the Penguins celebrating and stuff like that too. Just because, obviously, this is their cup. But, damn. Now, the Blackhawks had such a good little run here to try and force get it back to a Game 7. And then they just absolutely fell apart here. Was not expecting that in the slightest. But, like I said, Antti Niemi, in this year, 2010 and all that, he was actually really good. But then, like, later in his career, he was absolutely atrocious. So, he's just falling apart a little bit earlier than anticipated. But let's jump back into this and watch this last 5 minutes. What a game it's been for the Penguins power play unit. Absolutely crazy. 4 power play goals in the first. I don't think I'm going to all of a sudden get the Blackhawks to come back in this by jumping in, but I don't really care too much. I'd say this is a realistic result of what could have happened in 2010 if the Penguins would have been able to actually have a good simulation in the playoffs like they did in 2009. Hossa with the puck. Throws it over. Can't hit Kane. Good hit there by Taves. Jonathan Taves with it. Walks in. Shoots. Fleury to save. Fleury hasn't been the most active goalie in this series either. Like, he's faced like 20-something shots a game. Like, the Penguins are doing a good job defensively for the most part, it seems like. It kind of annoys me, but I don't know why in this game, though. You can see, like, the Penguins players have, like, literally the golden gloves from, like, what they would have worn currently. Like, I don't understand why they still wear them in this game when they wear literally their old jerseys like this. It kind of annoys me, but it is what it is. Gonchar finds it to Kunitz. Chris Kunitz is destroyed by Seabrook. No fight. Looked like I thought there was going to be a fight, but Seabrook absolutely blew him up, which is nice. I don't mind seeing Kunitz get destroyed like that. Crosby's got a breakaway on... Is it Niemi back in net again? Yeah, he is. I don't know why that happens when you jump in and the goalie just goes back to the other goalie, but Huey was terrible, so I guess Niemi just came back in for the rest of this. Here's Kunitz finding Crosby. He shoots, turned away by Niemi. Full pressure for the Penguins. Versteeg can't get it out. Seabrook will get it out, though. We're into the last minute. Dave Bolland lost control. Sidney Crosby with it. He's going to win his second Stanley Cup in back-to-back years. He didn't have to wait until 2016 like he did in real life. Brian Campbell just puts that off the glass, and it's funny how that always goes in the net after the whistle and all that. Like, when the puck hits, like, the stanchion and all that, it always goes in. It's very strange. Very, very strange. Oh, my goodness. This has been a fun little video to make. I don't know how many of you guys are going to actually watch all 40 minutes of this, but I just wanted to put it out for like my 2000s video. Thought it was kind of an interesting idea. I've wanted to do this with my other roster builds in a sense, but sometimes I just don't have time to do these extra little roster videos like I used to. Like, I used to do like the Stanley Cup Finals rematches all the time. This time around, I decided just to do a full-on playoff rematch in a sense. So, Campbell finds it up to John Madden as the Blackhawks look to get 5 goals in the last 30 seconds. Not that it's going to happen, but Cook throws it up, and that's going to be not icing because Hjalmarsson's going to get to it. The Penguins fans are all standing up as they should. Nice to actually see the fans a little bit more engaged in this one. Here's Ladd over. Letang gets hit into his net, and he's stuck in Fleury. What the hell? And Fleury almost fell because of that. Weird. Final 10 seconds here. The Pittsburgh Penguins are going to win the Stanley Cup in 2010 as Matt Cook throws a shot wide, and there it is. Penguins are the Stanley Cup champions once again. I don't know if I like seeing this, but it is realistic to what could have happened during this year. I would have liked to have seen maybe a Chicago-Pittsburgh Cup Finals in this time period, but I don't know if I would have at the same time either. Like I said, like during this time period when Chicago and Pittsburgh were winning a bunch of Stanley Cups, to me, it was kind of boring hockey. But at the same time, if you're a Chicago fan or you're a Pittsburgh fan, obviously you're going to be really excited about that type of thing. As Crosby wins the Conn Smythe, 17 goals and 20 assists for 37 points this postseason. Crazy year for Sid. Also, hopefully you guys like the face I made for Sid. But, yeah. What playoffs for Crosby. I think in real life in 2009, it was Malkin that won when they won it. For 2010, the Conn Smythe winner obviously would have been a Blackhawks, since the Blackhawks actually would have won. But I wonder who's going to get the cup in the celebration. Wonder who's going to get it. I'm also going to have to turn off the Elgato audio shortly when they show the names on the Stanley Cup, just because that is a recipe for a copyright. So, there is Crosby getting that Stanley Cup again. Winning it in Pittsburgh this time. Obviously, in 2009, they won in Detroit. So, first time winning it in front of the fans. I guess they would have won in front of the fans in... Did they win in front of their fans in 2017? I don't feel like they did. No, they didn't. 2016, did they win in front of their fans? I think they... No, I don't think they did either. I don't think they've ever won a cup, actually, on home ice in these recent memories, if I'm not mistaken. But Crosby passes it off to Chris Letang. So there goes Letang with the Stanley Cup. A young Chris Letang. Obviously closer to retirement in real life at this point. A lot of these guys are closer to retirement if they're even still playing. It's kind of crazy. Because this is 15 years ago, so I guess a lot of these guys would be older. But who is Letang going to pass it off to? He's going to pass it off to... Evgeny Malkin. I was thinking they were going to give it to Chris Kunitz, but Evgeny Malkin gets it. I mean, this is exactly who you would see with the Stanley Cup in a celebration. Crosby, Letang, Malkin. Like I said, all three of these guys are really close to retirement, probably in real life, so I don't mind seeing this, I guess. And then that means Fleury's going to be the last one probably to get the Stanley Cup, unless they give it to somebody else, but likely Fleury gets it last here. And Fleury's obviously in his last NHL season, so will they pass it to Fleury, or are they going to pass it to somebody else? They give it to Kunitz just to give me a slap to the face. That's not what I wanted to see, but I wanted to see Fleury get it, but it's okay. It's okay. Chris Kunitz gets a lap with it. Absolutely disgusting. I will never give up that 27 goal. I'll never give it up. Oh, boy. All that yellow confetti coming down. At least it's color matched now like it used to, because it used to not be color matched. It used to just be like blue and stuff. But now we get the team photo. I actually should get a screenshot of that. Let me just get a screenshot of that. Boom. And that is good. Let's also get rid of my Elgato audio, because this is when the copyright potential happens. Because, yeah, the copyright music that plays during this, I just don't want to have any issues with it. But the Stanley Cup champions for 2010, let's see their names on the trophy. Let's see the names. I know this cutscene's kind of a little bit long. Is what it is, though. There it is. Crosby, Adams, Cook, Dupuis, Eaton, Fedotenko, Fleury, Goddard, Goligoski, Gonchar, Guerin, Johnson, Kennedy, Kunitz, Leopold, Letang, Malkin, McKee, Orpik, Ponikarovsky, Rupp, Stahl, and Max Talbot. There it is. The 2010 Cup champions. So the Blackhawks still haven't won in this time frame, but it is what it is. And that is it. Boom. All right, Guerin got third star, 3 points in that game for him. Ponikarovsky, second star, 2 goals. And in the first star of the game, Evgeny Malkin had 4 points in that last game. But what a crazy game that was. And look at the penalties, too. Let's actually look at those for a bit. 2 slashing penalties, Bufflin and Brouwer, a minute 13 in. Keith then gets a penalty a minute 55 in. Seabrook gets one 3:06 in. Versteeg gets one 10:27 left. So you might think the refs are on the side of the Penguins in that game. Because the Penguins, they actually did take penalties in the third. But there was a lot of penalties against the Blackhawks in that one. They might have got a little bit too aggressive. There was even a double minor high sticking penalty to Taves in the third period of that game. But yeah, then the Penguins made them pay in that first period. Look at all those power play goals. Wow. And in that second period, they got an insurance marker, and third period, Malkin scored early too. Damn. A lot of their big guys stepped up at the right time in that one. So there is that. Okay. Well, that is that. Let's take a look at some stats to wrap up this playoff run and, well, see who is the best player in the 2010 playoffs, other than Sidney Crosby, and like the goals and all that, just for fun. But yeah, I think this was a pretty fun little video to make. So if we look at the best forwards for points in the 2010 playoffs, Crosby had 37 points. Then it was Malkin with 34. Taves had 27. Bill Guerin was really good on that top line with 24. Patrick Kane, Marian Hossa. The best players that didn't get to a cup finals were the Sedin twins, Henrik and Daniel. Both had 18 points, so that's kind of neat. Chris Kunitz up with 17. Simone Gagne with 16 led the Flyers. All right. How about the best defender in the postseason? Actually, let's look at the best goal scorer in the postseason. That would have been Sidney Crosby, 17 goals. Hossa had 15. Then Malkin and Sharp had 12 apiece. Most assists this postseason was Malkin with 22. Okay. Best defenseman for points in the playoff run was Sergei Gonchar. 32 points for Gonchar is insane. He simulates really good in this, though, too. So, Brian Campbell had 16. Goligoski had 14. All right. Braden Coburn somehow had 11 points. I don't even know how that happened, but whatever. Goaltending-wise, the best goalie in terms of wins, obviously, Marc-Andre Fleury. But in terms of, like, shutouts, Antti Niemi had 3 shutouts this playoff run, but absolutely had an atrocious Game 7. The best save percentage by any playoff goalie was Roberto Luongo with a 923 through 16 games, but Niemi probably was the best player almost on the Hawks because he had a 917 through 23 games. Best in terms of goals against, Tim Thomas was up there despite his team being out early. Luongo. All right. Any goalie goals in the playoffs? Probably not, because I don't think I saw anything, right? Yeah, no. Oh, so it says Pascal Leclerc. Shout out to Pascal Leclerc. And I think that's all I wanted to take a look at for results. Actually, let's take a look at one last thing. Some fun stats, too, while we're at it. Most hits in the playoffs. Chris Kunitz, 74 hits in the playoffs. Matt Cook. Yeah, that's realistic. Brent Seabrook. Brooks Orpik. Yeah, the right guys are up there in hits. Hossa probably shouldn't be hitting that much, but the other guys definitely make sense. Yeah, all right. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this little 2010 playoff resimulation. I think it was a pretty realistic result. Pretty happy with it for video number 2000. I think this was a fun little idea. If you guys want to see anything else maybe with this 2010 build other than my franchise mode that's going to come out soon enough, let me know. Maybe we could do like an actual Stanley Cup Finals rematch with it. But I decided just to do this for like a one-off video just so you guys could maybe see a little bit of my 2010 build in action. So anything down below, and I'll see you guys next time.